The Pro Show is brought to you by Rocket Media and our proprietary Flash HDR photo process, providing you with the best, most realistic photos of your property. See the difference at rocketmedia.com. Hi, and welcome to the Pro Show. I'm Rick Machle, and on today's show, we're talking about the South Metro Denver real estate market and what there is available, what types of products they have, different types of homes, condos, townhomes that are available with one of the great agents, Debbie Jacobs. She's going to be telling us all there is to know about the South Metro Denver area. In addition, Greg Bacheller is here to talk about rentals, and Nancy Alexander is giving us mortgage advice. That's all next on the Pro Show. Joining me today is Debbie Jacobs from Coldwell Banker Realty. She's down in the South Metro Denver office. She's with the Marcus team, one of the top agents and one of the top teams in the state. And it's great to have you here, Debbie. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Rick. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for joining me. We're going to talk all about South Metro, but before we get to that, I want to find out a little bit more about you. So tell me, where are you from? Are you from the Colorado area, or you're a transplant?
I am a transplant. I moved here when I was about 9. I graduated Loveland High, so I grew up in Loveland, Fort Collins area. And then I relocated down to the Metro Denver area in 1980.
And what did you do after high school?
Well, you'll be very surprised to hear, but my dad was in construction and he owned a construction business. And so right after high school, he and I worked together, and I ended up having my own construction business, of which I started to do roofing and moved to Wyoming.
Okay.
I had a roofing company up there in Wyoming for many years, and then came back to Denver and started a whole different career.
So that's when you started in real estate? I mean, being a realtor in real estate, and when was that?
Actually, no. I took a big divergence.
Okay.
I know this is kind of funny, but I took a big divergence and went into software development and software project management for a Fortune 500 company. And so I traveled all around the United States and Canada and installed big computer systems for huge hotels like Ritz-Carlton and Canadian Pacific, and really started to understand customer service from that experience.
And did that then lead into real estate, or no?
Well,
or you had another divergence? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Well, I'm a bit well-rounded.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So after the project management, then I started looking more into interior design and sales. For businesses. So I did a business product sales for a number of years. And then that's when I got into real estate.
Okay. And it was always in residential real estate, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. And the good news is that with, corporate project management,
Right.
which is a huge piece of real estate. I mean, you really have to be very on top of all the scheduling and understanding how all of the pieces fit together. That was really fundamental. Obviously, having a corporate sales job, which gives me the opportunity to understand how to listen to a client, how to develop what their goals are, and then develop a plan around that. And then, of course, my construction history, what could
Exactly.
go wrong?
But it gives you all the basically touch points that you need when you're in real estate. And you're with a pretty large team. How did you decide to go that route as opposed to being on your own, and what are the benefits?
Oh, great question. So I have known Michael and Lori Marcus, who are the team leads. Our kids went to preschool together.
Okay.
So I've known them for over 30 years, and they kept trying to nudge me into real estate. And, I just wasn't, I was in this corporate world, and I thought, well, no, I'll wait on that. And then, of course, when I did decide to go into real estate, that was a natural fit. I love their leadership. It's really great. Michael was actually Realtor of the Year for, I think it was 2015. And so having that basis and understanding about real estate has just been really wonderful.
And you always have somebody to bounce things off of, it sounds like, when you're in a team, and as well as additional support if you need it, that if you want to take half a day off, which is about all you guys get.
This is true. Yeah, so we have an 8-member team, which is terrific. As an example, this weekend I was busy. I had a listing appointment that I was scheduled, and then I also had a new listing that came out in the market, and so I was able to engage one of my other team members to be able to do an open house and to do some follow-up for that particular client. So it gives me a lot of advantage in that regard.
It really is a team effort. And your team lead with your clients, I assume, but you have teammates to help you out if you need, right?
Yes, it's pretty rare that I have a schedule conflict, but when I do, or like, let's just say that I did want to go on vacation, which we'll see if that ever happens.
But if you do, you've got somebody to back you up.
Exactly.
Well, this is great. Great to have you on the program. If you haven't watched any of the pro shows in the past, I think you've been on at least half of them, if not more, that we've done in the last 6 months. So it's been great having you on. Greg Bacheler's here to tell us all about what's going on in the rental world each week, and it's great to have you back, Greg. Thanks for being here.
Many thanks for having me, Rick. Always good to be with you.
It's awesome to have you on. And last week we talked about, maybe sprucing up asking your landlord to spruce up your condo or house or whatever you're renting. This week,
Sure.
we have the scenario where we've got a landlord who's loves their tenant. They're really great. And, we're in a little bit more competitive market. And so what are some things that you'd suggest to keep that tenant so they don't start looking around?
Yeah, it's a great question. My suggestions to a landlord are, if you've got a good tenant who's paying on time and taking care of your property, do what you need to do to make sure that they stay there. Because that's a really, really valuable for any investor to have payments on time and to have the property being taken care of. That is a win. So my recommendation on that would be, the first place on your next renewal, really think through strategically what that price point is going to be.
Okay.
So for instance, if the market is going up 5%, maybe you have a dialogue as a landlord that says, hey, listen, I know the market's going up 5%, but we really appreciate you. We're only going to increase your rent 2% or 3% or something less than what market would bear if you had to go out and find another tenant that you don't know is going to take as good of the care of the property and or make their payments on time like this current one has. So it kind of goes back to that old saying in life that a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. Stick with the bird that you have in the hand, take good care of them, and try to find ways to incent them to stay. Now, part of that could be, I'll defer back to a little bit on the flip side from last week. There are things that landlords can do, such as giving them a complimentary house cleaning, giving them a complimentary carpet cleaning, painting that accent wall in the dining room, some of those kinds of things just to freshen things up a little bit. And that speaks volumes to the tenants. Always worthwhile.
What's the average vacancy if a tenant leaves? Is it a couple of months in this market?
Not quite. Right now, it's about 4 to 5 weeks,
Okay.
which is higher than it normally is during this seasonal time, kind of mid-November to mid-February, which we're obviously knocking on the far end of that door. That's the slowest 90 days in any rental market. And so it's taken 4 to 5 weeks to lease a property right now, versus over the summer months, that's more 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, maybe you could get some sort of, go to the going rate, but maybe say, you've been so great over the last 4 or 5 years, I want to give you a month free.
Absolutely.
That would be a way to say, oh my gosh, they really like me and they like the way I'm taking care of my property. And quite honestly, there are a lot of tenants who don't. And so if you've got one,
Yes.
you might as well keep them happy and keep them in
Absolutely
the
the case.
place. And so that's awesome. Well, if you want to reach out to Greg or any of his team, you can do so there at the number on the screen. As always, great to see you, Greg. And next week, why don't we talk about potential regulations coming this year in Denver as far as the rental market? Sound good?
Perfect. Yep.
Awesome.
There's lots of stuff bubbling in downtown Denver, and we'll chat about it.
Well, sounds great. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Since Debbie spends a lot of her time in the South Metro area, of course, she works everywhere around the metro area and probably down into Castle Rock and Colorado Springs as well. But we're going to talk about South Metro, south of 225 and just east and west of I-25. This is an area that she spends a lot of time on. So I'm going to briefly walk through what's going on in the market down there. And these are January stats year over year. And so basically the sales inventories up a little bit from 30 to 36 from January of last year to January of this year. And this is in the 80111 zip code. In the 80112, it's up quite a bit of inventory they've seen, and that could be because there's probably been a lot of new inventory coming on as well. There are 58 in the market this year and 32 last year. The days on the market is up a little bit in 80111 from 55 to 84. It looks like a lot, from like a 53% increase is a lot, but it's not really that many days on market. And then the days on market growth in the 80112 is up quite a bit as well. It's up from 29 to 54. And then if we look at the median list price for 80111, it's up 22%, almost 23%, from 783,875 last year to 964 this year. Now this is the list price, not the sales price. And then in the 80112 area in Centennial, it's down 8.4% from 524,125 last year to 480,063. And then the new listing count for these two zip codes is down 47% from 38 last year to 20 this year in the 80111, and up 36% from 38 last year to 52. So Debbie, what are you seeing in the marketplace? Are you seeing that things are relatively stable, things coming on, going off? What are you experiencing?
Well, in the tech center area, where it does say that, that we do have these additional days on market, I feel that what is happening is the properties that were available in December were the properties that had been on the market maybe from September even.
Okay.
And because of that, they, finally did get under contract in the middle of December. And then we've had those properties sell and actually close in January. So I think that is part of the number of days on market increase, is that those properties were just on the market a little longer. And because it's carried over into 2025, I believe that that's part of what's going on.
And that's kind of normal for fall, correct? Over the last couple of years, right? That people go,
oh, absolutely.
That the days get longer, and then we get into more of the listing season as we get into January, February, March, April.
Absolutely. And that has also been true, at least since 2015, that I can remember, that what happens is the properties that are going on the market that are a little too high priced for that particular model or that particular location, or they may have not really understood that last year we did have a price decrease. And so they kind of said, oh yeah, let's put it on the market. I know my neighbor next door got, X for their house. Let's put it on for that. And we did have a price reduction last year. And so if you went on the market a little high, that did kind of lead to a longer days on market.
So
that's
you end
normal.
up kind of chasing the market down a little bit to actually reach where the market rate is, because you might have started a little high and you're just trying to gauge the market with your clients? You might say, well, I think it should be here. You want to go here. Let's see how that goes. And that might be in September, but it takes a little while for the market to tell that homeowner what's going on, correct?
Right. And in 80111, there were a few properties that probably skewed the numbers quite a bit.
Okay.
Where they were they ended up selling. I shouldn't say that they were so overpriced, but
Right.
they ended up selling for $170,000 less than asking. And so that skewed some of the days on market for those. I'm thinking of three of them off the top of my head. And those were on the market for such a long time in comparison to the other stats that you would normally pull. So in that neighborhood, I think you're really looking somewhere around 40 days.
Okay.
Would be on average, but because those properties skewed that number pretty good, I would say that that's where we're seeing some of that stats as well.
Are you seeing that we're having a lot of contracts fall out right now, or is it kind of average?
To my recollection right now, I think there's only 3 or 4 of that 30 count that came back on the market. Those are probably due to some type of a buyer problem, not so much the property itself, I would assume.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
in that particular neighborhood. That doesn't typically happen very often.
Yeah, and the tech center and just south of Cherry Creek Lake, it's a very established neighborhood, I assume, right? So, people know what they want to buy if they're going in there.
Correct. And I also think that the due diligence that the agents might actively seek, we're going to do a good inspection. We're going to make sure the sewer line is fine. We're going to maybe have a roof inspection. So I think that in that price point,
right,
there might be a little bit more education ahead of time.
Right, for your sellers and getting them ready. And so if they're ready to go on the market. Well, I think we should now take a quick look at what types of properties are in this area. What do you think?
Oh, that would be great.
So we're going to start south of Metro Denver. And if we zoom out a little bit, you'll see Denver up in the upper left-hand corner. And we're going to zoom down here to just south of Hampton. We're going to go a little bit north of 225 and south of Hampton. And this is where we're going to start our little tour. And Debbie, what's in this area? When was this developed?
So that's interesting. So do you see the circles?
Yes, right here. Yep.
Yes. So that's Southmore.
Okay.
And Southmore has older properties that were mostly in the 70s, like late 60s to 70s. And many of those properties have been redesigned with upgraded finishes. And so you basically have a little bit of 700s to 800s. And then you have the 1.1 millions. And it just depends on what they've done in order to refinish the property. And many of them have been beautifully done. So if you go immediately to the east of that, those circles, that's Hutchinson Hills. Those were built in the 50s, and those are primarily ranches.
Okay.
So if you go up just a little bit, I just saw a very classic ranch style that you would find in the Hutchinson Hills.
Oh, like here? Yeah, this type of property.
Yes, just great, good old, everyday, lovely ranch. There's one right there.
Yep.
You just passed
right
it.
Here. Yep.
Perfect. Yes. So that would be 2-car garage. You're going to have somewhere around 2,000 square feet, 2,100 square feet would be average. You've got really nice sized kitchens and very nice family rooms that might be attached to the kitchen, and usually 3-bedroom.
And then as we head down a little bit closer to 225, there are a lot of condos down in this part, right? And townhomes?
Yes. Those townhomes right there that you see all those red dots to the upper left there, that is the Cherry Creek townhomes.
Okay.
And those have some really great prices, great starter homes. They do have a garage associated with them. Typically, there is 3-car garage that is shared within the units, and then there is a detached garage for the 4th unit. So those are more on the lines of a 4-plex, but great square footage, somewhere around 1,200 square feet, usually 2 to 3 bedrooms on the upper level, with a bathroom on the upper level, and then a main floor powder room and family room, and then the kitchen is associated with that. And those are usually somewhere between $270,000 and $335,000.
So good place to start out, and especially if you work in the tech center, very close by, because as we head south, that's where we're heading into, is more the tech center area. And what on the east side of DTC Boulevard, what are we looking at here?
So this is very interesting because Yosemite, which is right there at Bellevue and Yosemite, on the west side of Yosemite is Denver. So that's 80247.
Okay.
And that is Denver Public Schools. And on the east side of Yosemite, that is 80111, and that is Greenwood Village. And then also Inglewood would be associated with that particular address.
Okay. And we have condos, we have single family. What are we looking at in this area?
Sure. So on the west side of Yosemite, in that Denver area, that is Pine Valley. And Pine Valley ranges, again, a little bit older properties. So I would say that you would find things that would be late 60s up into 82, possibly. We're going to see tri-levels in there, which is a typical thing that we do see in Colorado, where you have a set of bedrooms that are on the upper level. Then you have a mezzanine level, I'll call it that has a kitchen and family room. And then you have a little bit lower, usually by 4 or 5 steps, family room that is overseen by that kitchen area. So a lot of tri-levels are over there in that particular Pine Valley area.
And it looks like we have one over here right in the tech center in this high rise.
Oh, yes. So that is, let me see. That's Landmark.
Yeah. It's a landmark property. Up on the 19th floor, must have good views.
Oh my goodness. Can you even imagine it? I'm sure it's fantastic. So Landmark has 2 skyrise towers that are mixed use. So there are penthouses at the top that would be somewhere around $2 million. I'm guessing. I don't know if there's anything that's available on the penthouse at the moment.
Doesn't look like it. Looks like we have one right now. That's
one.
Yeah. That's
and it's probably, what's the square footage on that? 2,500.
2,800, and 2-bed, 3-bath. 2,800 on this one. So.
And what's really great about Landmark is it has concierge. Basically, it's like living in a hotel.
Okay.
You have a concierge environment, a very secure building, beautiful views. And then at the lower level, you've got mixed use. So you have very high-end sushi restaurants. There's an Irish restaurant there that's great for fish and chips, if you like that. There's also a comedy. Comedy Works is over there. So if you like that idea of lock and leave and beautiful views, this might be a good place for you.
Oh, that's good to know. And then as we head closer to Bellevue and Yosemite, kind of out in this area, this is also an area that was built up, 80s, 70s, 80s?
80s. When you get a little bit farther east and farther south, you will find things that are in the early 2000s, which is that Cherry Creek Reserve. So there are a number of communities that are located within this particular area. So north of Bellevue is Cherry Creek. It's a Cherry Creek School District. All of this is Cherry Creek School District. And what you'll see is that you've got let's see if you want to go just a little farther south. Yeah, there you go, right there. So you've got Cherry Creek Vista South, which is south of Orchard.
Okay.
You also have some of these are larger 3-car garage. You've got larger square footages in this particular area. I would assume that you would be pricing somewhere around 1.1 up to 1.8. You might be somewhere around the 2 million, but I would say 1.5 would be pretty much an average in this particular area. Larger square footage.
I mean, it looks like you have a couple of condos that are in the sixes, but 6 and 700, but single family, you're in the one over a mil, correct?
Correct. Now you might be able to find something. There is one that I know that is right off of Dayton. That's 975.
Yep.
That just went on the market this last week. That does have a lot of great square footage. It is a Camden model. It was actually built by Bill Wall, which was a custom designer or custom home builder in the 80s. I want to say that one was built in 81. And a Camden model, great livability. That is a general 2-story. It has 3 to 4 bedrooms upstairs with 2 bathrooms upstairs. And then the square footage would run somewhere around 3,000 to 3,700, depending on which property.
So the closer to the Cherry Creek State Park, the more you're going to pay, I'd assume, right?
Yes.
Generally?
And then there are, yes, that would be a good overall general description. There are also some custom home pocket neighborhoods in there. Do you see the house that's 2 million?
Right. Yeah, right in here.
On your right.
Yeah. And yep, that looks like a custom on that's once again, I guess if it's close to Cherry Creek State Park or the closer you get to actually in the tech center, you're probably going up a little bit too. But you still have here's one that's 849. So you've got some. Of course, we're a little bit south of Orchard, so that's why I said as I'm looking here at the numbers and the state parks up here in the upper right hand corner that you then have the as you get further from the park, generally, of course, there's one out here on Peoria that is this a condo? What is this?
It's a townhome.
It's a townhome. Yeah. So
yes.
Single family, you're probably over a mil, as we were saying.
And those townhomes that you just highlighted, great little community down there. It has stucco on the outside, nice square footage, and of course access to the tech center. Centennial Airport is very close to there, so a lot of professionals will choose that location to be able to have easy access to the Centennial Airport. And of course, 225 or C470, you can get up to DIA fairly quickly.
Yeah, you could even very quickly pop over to Orchard and I-25 and hit the light rail from here too. It's a good place to do it. And as we head down toward the Peakview Avenue area, these are a lot of condos, right? Down in this area?
They are. Do you see so I guess, yeah, it's almost exactly where you just highlighted that we're, there you go, right there.
Yep.
So those are condos. And then also if you look right there, that's another nice little condo. Again, great price point to get started on.
And this looks like it's a home. There's one home in this area. The rest are condos that's for sale right now here on the 17th of February. And I'm going to continue a little bit further south of Arapahoe and I-25. And there's a lot of commercial right here, correct, in right along Arapahoe. So I assume that's why there's not a lot of homes available, right?
That is correct. There are, strip malls over there, and then you're going to see that gray area is actually Centennial Airport.
Gotcha. And then as we head down to the Inverness area, that's a great community developed in the 80s, I believe. This area
Love it. Yes. It is. So Inverness is very interesting because Toll Brothers has a new construction community,
Okay.
which is also part of the reason that when we talked about the stats
Right.
in the 80112 about how there was so much increase in inventory, that's because Toll Brothers is just starting a community down there. These are beautiful homes. I toured them with a buyer last week. And of course, it's got all of the the Toll Brother features as far as the beautiful spaces, and some of them have patios, some of them have rooftop patios, and those are just coming online now. That's 38 new construction homes.
That would change the number of available listings very quickly.
Yes, it would.
And it looks like we've got that. This may be. Oh, this is part of the new construction too. I guess that is the area you were referring to when they say there's
Exactly.
9 new homes. They're putting them on the market over here. And if I zoom out a little bit,
And then if you want to go, God
Sorry.
bless you.
I'll mark that. And as I zoom out a little bit, you can see there's where Centennial Airport is at that point. And
Now, if you want to look at Inverness just a little bit more closely,
yeah,
there are a few different styles of homes that I'm going to call it mixed use.
okay,
Just as a general frame
right,
conversation, I guess. And what it is there are duplexes.
okay,
Then there are fourplexes, and then there are, let's see, I want to say these are sixplexes. So you see the one that's pending right now for 9 something?
right. Did it make it? Did I just lose it? I think I lost it there.
It is off to your left. There you go, the orange one.
It's not orange on my end, but
Oh, okay. So it should be 975, I think.
Okay.
925.
And what
possibly.
is
Can
that
you see
one? Yeah.
So that one is a very, very common in Inverness, where you've got these beautiful townhomes. You have a 2-car garage. You have a main entrance that has a office, a mudroom space, and the utility room is down at the bottom.
Okay.
It goes up a level. That's family room, patio, beautiful windows, and an expansive kitchen area with a dining space. And then you're also, going up another level to bedrooms that, typically have really nice views. Inverness is known for its restaurants and nightlife.
Right.
So nice little space. And again, it's very close to the highway.
And easy access to
easy
Park
access.
Meadows as well.
Very easy.
And as we actually head a little bit further south on Inverness Parkway, you can see, I believe these are similar to what you were talking about too. These are some new condos on the market as well, and townhomes. They call them condos, but I think they're townhomes on this area. But, and if let me zoom out. Sorry. Let me zoom out here a little bit. You can see here's Park Meadows over here. Here's 470 and I-25. And there isn't a ton of inventory up here. As we head south of E470, this is a huge area for new construction, right?
Yes. So you've got Stonegate down there. You have Meridian locations down there, lots of new construction. This is an area, if you were looking for a lock and leave with a single story,
Right.
so it would be more like a ranch, smaller lots. So typically you're going to see a lot size around 6,500 square feet,
Right.
where you're fitting in very nice ranch style homes. There are Richmond homes have brand new. Shea, Toll Brothers, I don't think has anything down there right now.
No.
But lots of new construction, great selection.
Especially in this Ridgegate Parkway, and there's a new light rail, I believe, down here too, that makes it real convenient from this whole new construction area down south of Ridgegate Parkway, which is kind of the southernmost part before we start heading into Castle Rock, right?
Correct. And Ridgegate is slated for many, many new homes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you had mentioned that there is a new light rail down there. They are now expanding out. There's a Cabela's down there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of medical facilities that are located at Sky Ridge, which is very close to that Ridgegate Parkway. So all of this area that's east of I-25 and south of Ridgegate, that is all going to be built out right there into newer construction and giving you great opportunities for lower square footage. And by that, I mean somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 square feet.
Right.
But new construction and a lot of ranch style, or maybe some two-story, not so much the tri-levels.
So as you can tell, Debbie's very familiar with this area. So obviously, if you're looking to sell your home, it makes sense to give her a call because she knows what others in the market are going for. And if you're looking to buy a home, she's seen it all, I'm sure. She's been to all these places and keeps that fresh. So if you're saying, I want to live south of Lincoln and east of I-25, where should I look? And she's seen them, so she can take you to the best places there. We've been taking the temperature of a lot of different Coldwell Banker agents over the last few weeks as to whether they believe that staging is important and how important is it, and then maybe getting a little bit of definition of what they mean by staging. And Debbie is awesome at this, so I figured she'd be a great person to talk to about this. So when I've got a home that's got all my furniture in it, what's the number one thing I should start doing, and when should I start doing it?
So about as soon as you decide that you are thinking that you want to sell, one of the main things that we want to do is we want to do a walkthrough together.
Okay.
Now, depending on where your property is located, I may invite also one of my top stagers to come with me. I do a lot of design myself, so I do have a lot of that kind of background.
Right.
And what I always invite you to do is to look at it from the buyer's perspective. So what's happening is when you walk in, how is that buyer going to feel? Do I have really oversized leather furniture that is taking over the size of the room? I may, ask you to move some of the furniture around, maybe make it so that the backs of the furniture do not show, like when you walk in.
Right.
I don't want to see the back of the sofa,
okay,
if possible.
Yeah.
I'd like to have it so that when the buyer walks in, they get this great feeling of, oh, I'm going to walk into this beautiful, expansive room, and I'm going to sit down at the beautiful furniture and kind of envision what it would be like to live in the property. So that is one of the things I really am very careful about. And I also am very careful about the first 30 or 40 seconds of what the visuals are for the buyer as they walk in. That first 45 seconds is really key.
And you've listed a lot of homes. What percentage would you say actually would be what I consider listing condition, or you consider in listing condition when you first walk in? Less than 5%?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Less than 5%.
So when Debbie comes in and says, you need to do this, this, and this, she's not picking on you. It's the way people don't live in staged homes. So,
correct.
They live in their home. And so she's trying to make it like what you said, which is what she said, which is that basically we're trying to get it ready for sale and not necessarily live in it. And so it's not that she's criticizing anything, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not criticizing one thing. But that is part of the initial conversation that I have when I have a list of home. What's most important? Mm-hmm. Do we want to sell quickly?
Right.
Do we want to invest any money for any type of touch-ups? Like maybe let's say I walk in and there's a lot of banged up baseboards.
Okay.
Well, that's not going to cost very much to get that kind of touched up or cleaned up. But is that something that we just want to put it on the market as is and not do any staging? That probably is not going to get you as top dollar as taking the time to have somebody come and clean that up. And even if it's not going to cost very much.
But when I say not ready for prime time, that could mean some people are really close. They just need to be cleaned, right?
Oh, absolutely. I just listed a property, and I walked in thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to, need to like give some guidance here, right? And I couldn't believe it. It was picture perfect, and literally every single thing was exactly how I would have wanted it. There was maybe a couple of beds that needed to be straightened up a little bit, and maybe some extra pillows or whatnot. But that is very rare. It's normally, it's going to take us a couple of weeks to maybe declutter, talk a little bit about maybe moving some artwork around, adding some different artwork.
Do you have a percentage of stuff you normally take out of a home?
Well, that depends, because some people live in more of a minimalistic style,
Right.
But generally it's a lot. Usually I would say probably 50% removal from each room.
And do you encourage your clients then to have like a pod, or just put it in the garage if they have space in the garage, if they have a garage?
Yes. So typically a buyer, when they walk into a full garage that's packed up and has boxes and extra furniture, they think, wow, this seller is motivated. They are ready to move. This is a serious seller. And it does give the seller a little bit of advantage if it's packed in the garage neatly, or, at least to where they can kind of get a good sense for how big the garage is. But most buyers do not object to having a full garage. So that is what I prefer if it's easy for the seller.
But a pod if they've got one of those amazing garages, because you want to show that off too, right?
Yes. So let's say I've got a beautiful epoxy garage. Maybe I've got lacquered cabinets, like, I don't know if you've seen some of these beautiful properties that have like red lacquer and red epoxy floors, and then maybe these really beautiful custom lacquer cabinets that are in there. If it's something that's exceptional like that, of course I would want that as clean and tidy as it usually is. And
that makes a lot of sense. So let's go the other end. I have to go move out of state. The movers are coming this weekend. I need to get my house on the market. What's my plan generally? Should I get I have to get all my furniture out, because that's the plan from there. But do you leave it vacant, or should you stage it? What's the plan from there?
So I don't believe I've almost ever, and I can't say never because that's not right, but I've almost never had a vacant property.
Okay.
The problem with a vacant property, especially bedrooms, is that you walk into a 13 by 13 room, and when it is vacant, it looks very tiny.
Okay.
And a 13 by 13 room for an ancillary secondary bedroom is not a tiny bedroom.
Big, yeah.
It is really big. So once you put in a queen size bed, and I have my own storage unit, I have my own movers that move my staging equipment in and out of properties. So when I do that, that room becomes very big, because I've got 2 nightstands, I've got a queen size bed, and that 13 by 13 now looks like, oh yes, I can see my child or whoever's going to be living in that secondary bedroom have a lot of space.
So people can't envision a living room. So I'm assuming that they would need to, having furniture helps there too, right?
Absolutely. And most living rooms and family rooms, when you first walk in, are square boxes.
Okay.
Right? So you don't really get an emotional response from a square box. And right now, we've got a lot of properties that have more of a really super light tone, or the light grays. And so you're looking at a gray and white box, and it doesn't invoke any type of emotion when the buyer walks in. And those properties stay on the market much longer, in my opinion, than a property that is staged, especially that first 45 seconds.
What's your advice on cleaning windows? Do you prefer to do that, or is that kind of like one of the last things?
So I love to have the windows professionally cleaned the day before staging, or right around the same day as staging, which I would anticipate would then be about 2 or 3 days prior to photography. So I really like to have those windows done before photography, because we've got this beautiful Colorado sunshine, right? And we have this beautiful blue skies. And as that light is streaming through the windows, it can really look terrible when those are dirty windows, and we have a snowstorm, and so.
Do you find in general with staging less is more, or is it literally room by room that you're trying to stage it for a feeling?
So I like to stage it for a feeling, because you've got, I sold a property years ago over on the west side of town that was a custom built home that was maybe 1974, something like that. And it had these amazing mountain views, and it was very dated. It had dated tile everywhere, and, some dated wood floors and whatnot. But because of the construct of the layout and the architectural design, by having a professional stager, and that one I actually spent a lot of money on staging, and we did a mid-century mod, and it was before mid-century mod was everywhere. And we did these oranges and cranberries and some of the jewel tones. I think I want to say we had 8 offers in the first 48 hours. And it was an older home that, needed some work, but because of the emotional response for staging, and so each one is completely unique.
So that's obviously, you want them to feel like this could be their home, right? For when they look at the staging.
Yes, absolutely. And every neighborhood is a little different. Am I going to put in mid-century modern in a traditional home? Probably not. But am I in a neighborhood where the demographic that's most likely to buy in that neighborhood is going to want that mid-century mod? Maybe I might pick out mid-century mod pieces that would, be able to transition so that someone that likes that mid-mod might walk in and say, wow, I can definitely see my furniture here. Do, super contemporary, let's just say like the lucite coffee tables and maybe circular leather couches, that's kind of like super mod. That is a harder sell, and it really has to be a specialized property in order to support that.
And a lot of times, though, you also have kind of the in-between where you accent or augment what furniture and other items they currently have, correct?
That's correct. And if they have pets, sometimes I will do a much more relaxed, I guess, staging process. And that is due to, I'm not going to put in a $5,000 silk couch if they have, a pet there. Mm-hmm. So I might utilize the furniture that's there, or maybe utilize furniture that, makes sense for that particular situation.
And how are you relative to lighting? Are you real meticulous on having everything match, or is it just, are you trying to match within a specific room in each individual room?
Well, at minimum, I like to have everything match within a room. It's very distracting, especially in photography mode. And photography, really, I can't stress how important photography is. So staging is great, because staging allows you to walk in and feel, as the buyer, what it's going to be like to live there, right? But photography is really what's going to drive the people to the property in the first place, right? I think the stats are 97% of all people that start to look for properties look online first, even before they engage a real estate agent. And then real estate agents also have a 90%. That's how the customer or client finds the property, is by the real estate agent saying, right, oh, this is something new. So without the photography, you don't get great photography. Without staging, it's all kind of blended together and matches
it's
together.
All to build that view and build
That's
that
right.
impression and get people to say, oh, that's a cool place. How can I live there?
Exactly. So lighting makes a big difference because if I've got let's say I have a den that is an office that is a custom home and it maybe has custom wood walls.
Right.
Let's say I've got mahogany walls everywhere. I am not going to have a very good experience on photography if I have bright blue LED lighting. Right?
Nope, correct.
Because what's going to happen is I'm going to get gray walls.
Right.
Even though they're this beautiful warm mahogany, I'm going to get gray tone walls. So, everything is unique, but I curate each room as best as possible, which is a very low expense to the client because lighting is not that expensive, but I'm really paying attention to literally every single detail to be able to get the best experience.
Well, obviously your background helps with that, whether it's in the building or in the design part. And so having you help stage their home, I'm sure, is really beneficial to your clients. Probably really helps them a lot. Joining us every week from Smart Mortgage Services is Nancy Alexander. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing great. You?
Good. Thank you.
Good. So this week we are talking about, I just bought my house and I want to do some renovations to it. How do I accomplish that and not have to, I've already drained a lot of my bank account to get the house.
Right.
So right. How do we do that?
That is the truth. These renovation loans, it's a great question because they're these wonderful loans. Fannie does them, Freddie does them, FHA does them. VA is beginning to play with them, kind of comes in and out of the market, but they're called rehab loans. So let's say, Rick, you bought the house for $400,000.
Okay.
Let's say the kitchen, is very 1950s and maybe the bathrooms are the same way. Maybe you want to redo the flooring. So you're not necessarily going to change the structure of the house. It's not like you're going to pop a top or push out a wall, which you can do that with the rehab loans as well. But let's just say you're going to do internal and you think this is going to run $100,000.
Sure.
Okay, so now, in fact, we really should back up. We really should start over. Sorry, start over.
Okay.
Because you haven't bought the house yet, and the price is $400,000. We're going to make the price $500,000 because you want to put $100,000.
Okay, so that's where I need to start it, which is different than what you were. We were going down the fix and flip.
I was going down the fix and flip. It's like, well,
okay. Joining us every week is Nancy Alexander from Smart Mortgage Services. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Rick.
Good to have you on. So we are talking about, I've got a house. It's not in the best condition that I want to buy. How do I get it so that I don't have to come up with a bunch of cash once I close? Because it's a great price on this house that I want to buy, but I'm going to have to put some work into it. So how does that work?
Right, rehab.
Okay.
They're called rehab loans, and they're great products, you guys, because they're products that exactly what Rick said. You've got a $400,000 house. There's work that you want to do to it, but you don't necessarily have the cash because you're using your cash for your down payment, your closing costs, etc.
Right.
So in turn, let's say it's internal. Right. Mm-hmm. It's new flooring. It's maybe a new kitchen. Maybe it's upgrade the bathrooms. Let's say it costs $100,000.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is you're going to get a general contractor to break that down for you as to what those costs are. And you're going to submit that on this rehab loan. And now your purchase becomes $500,000.
Okay.
Rather than $400,000 that the seller was asking. Right, you take your $400,000, you add your $500,000 or your $100,000 to come to your $500,000. That now becomes your purchase price.
Okay.
Seller still gets their $400,000, right, and you get to finance in your $100,000 worth of rehab work or upgrades.
Yeah. And so the appraisal, though, how is that handled?
Great question. The appraiser goes in based on the general contractor, what the general contractor has said the work is going to be done. So you actually end up with two appraisals. You end up with an appraisal at the beginning that says, okay, here's where the value is right now. Mm-hmm. Here's where the value will be with the upgrades. So the investor knows that in turn, the value will be there of their asset once the work is completed.
And I'm assuming then that in our scenario here, that 100,000 goes into some sort of escrow, so I can't use it like a cash out refi and just go buy a boat, right?
You're right. Very much like a construction loan, like an
Okay.
internal construction loan. And so in turn, as the general contractor is doing the work, be it electrical, be it framing, be it whatever that looks like, and he's got his subs working on it, he puts in an invoice every 30 days to the lender. The lender pays out on those invoices, and you typically have an inspector that's going to come by every 30 days to say, is this project on track? Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? Normally on these rehab loans, they always wanted them done in a 6-month period. They've extended that recently to a 9-month period, they being Fannie, Freddie, FHA, all of them do these rehab loans. You can do them, Rick, for sewer, you can do them for septic, you can do them for your well, you can do them for blowing up the top, you pushing out walls. You can't do them for what they call luxury items.
Okay.
So you can't take a rehab loan and put in a swimming pool.
Okay.
Right.
Darn.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
And a water feature. Right?
Okay, yeah, that nice water feature. Yeah, it's to improve the property, because essentially you're getting that appraiser based on that upgrades, and a fountain may be nice, but it's not going to increase the property value. But the good news is if you do it this way versus closing and then taking out 100,000, you're doing it all in a first mortgage, right?
That's right. You are doing it all on your first mortgage. It really is a cool product. You have to have reserves with it. So you do have to have some cash reserves. There's some nuances to it, but as far as it's probably a half a point more in rate.
Okay.
As far as being able to finance that project in, like you said, in the purchase, it's a beautiful instrument to at least look at and compare with using your own money versus using the bank's money.
And is the half point for the entire 500,000 in our scenario, or for just the 100,000? The half point difference you said you were
the
referring to.
half point is for the full. It's for the full mortgage. So you're going to pay a higher interest rate because you have this product, and there's risk. Remember, rate. You and I have talked about this so many times. Rate is associated with risk to the investor.
Sure.
Right. They've got risk. Are you really going to complete the project? Are you really going to do what the general contractor, what you and the general contractor put together and presented to the investor? So yes, there's more risk, hence rate goes up.
Okay, well, it sounds like a great product to look into if you're looking at that home that needs some work. And one of the things I hear about in this market today is nobody wants a project. Well, the reason they don't want a project because it adds to a lot of their brain damage. Well, this can help with alleviating some of that brain damage. How are you going to pay for it? And
you can make it your own.
Right. You can make it your own. And it's a smart product, because I think everybody wants to get some of these homes that are a little older and showing their wear up to current standards and things like that. So it's great for the whole community and the U.S. housing market as a whole. As always, great to have you on, Nancy. And if you want to find out more about these, feel free to reach out to her. And next week, I think we should talk about, if I'm selling my home, what I can do to really mess up getting it closed. How's that sound?
Oh, that sounds good. I love our conversations.
Great. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Okay.
It's time for Debbie's 10 favorites, and this is a great time to find out a little bit more about Debbie, and we are going to start with your favorite food.
Oh, hands down, spicy. So I'm going to say tom kha soup, or something Vietnamese is something I love that.
Cool. And what about your favorite pastime?
My favorite pastime is gardening.
Cool. Awesome. And favorite type of music or band?
I am all over the board. So let's see. That would be, I love country music and I love Nirvana. So it's kind of like all over the board.
Yeah. So you like country music, but you go visit Nirvana, or you go to a Nirvana concert type concert. What's your favorite place to visit in Colorado?
The Broadmoor.
Oh. Very
Yep,
nice.
I love it. Yep, I love it. I love the ambience of it. I like how I can go just literally an hour south and feel like I'm in another country. So I kind of, that's my favorite place, I think.
It's great. And favorite place to visit in the world?
Well, I work a lot, so I haven't really traveled very much, but I would say probably Mexico.
Okay. They've got some great places. And what about your favorite restaurant? That could be either locally or anywhere.
Ooh, let's see. That's a good one. It depends on what food. So I think if it's going to be, that's a really hard question. I don't know how to answer that. It depends on what I'm looking for. I guess I like some upscale Italian, I think.
Okay. So there are a lot of them here in Colorado, which is great.
Yes.
And what's your
Or
favorite time of
sushi.
the year?
Definitely spring, 100%. I'd like to get in the garden. It's starting to thaw. I see all the little sprouts coming up. And of course, it's a beautiful renewal of the year. So definitely spring.
I love the fluorescent leaves as they're coming out, that green fluorescence of spring. What's your favorite
Yes.
smell?
That would be, so it's all about the gardening. So it's definitely, I think, roses.
Rose, cool. And how about favorite childhood memory?
Camping.
Camping with your family?
Hmm.
Where did you go anywhere special?
So there's a lake in Wyoming
Okay.
that is up there. It's called Lake Glendo, and it's got a sandy beach that has kind of white sand that they've imported. They actually imported it from Mexico, I think. And so it's a huge lake. There's water skiing and camping. And so that's probably definitely one of my favorites.
And what's the favorite part about what you do?
Well, I love to see happy faces at the closing table. I am very fortunate to work with, a lot of people from all walks of life, from first-time home buyers to, properties that are people that have a lot of investments. And so I like that. I'm very blessed to have been awarded, many, many awards over the years. President's Elite and Coldwell Banker, the Broadmoor Club, and other 5280 top producer. Actually, I've gotten that in the last 3 years. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, well, and obviously the industry is recognizing you. Obviously, it's also based on people coming back and using you, the repeat clients. I'm sure you have a lot of them as well, and then just people liking the type of service you provide. Having worked with Debbie for a long time, she works her tail off to get
Yes, I
either
do.
get it sold or find you that perfect home as well. Today, Debbie has a great condo for sale that she's listing, and this is at 6283 Kilmore Loop, Unit 201 in Arvada. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,650 square foot condo, and currently, as of February 17th, it's listed for $524,000. Obviously, check your local website to find out what it's going for when you watch this video. But tell us about this condo, Debbie.
So this condo is stunning. They have done a remodel in the kitchen, which you will see, and the pictures do not do it justice. There's 50% of the properties you have on the market, the photos are great. You walk in and go, oh yeah, well, I guess that doesn't really match up. Mm-hmm. This is maybe converse, where the actual kitchen is and features inside the home are actually even a little bit better than the photography, which is remarkable. What I love about this property is location. It's on the west side of town. It's technically Arvada or Golden. So it has an Arvada postal code, but it actually lives in Golden. It has a walk-in area So when you first walk in, you're actually walking into what's a mudroom, and you've got the utilities are down there, and you also have the front entrance and the garage entrance into this space. You're keeping that, the doggy, wet dog paws or whatever downstairs instead of having that just walk right into the living room. They have nylon upgraded carpet, which is great for being able to get that cleaned. And that's a great example right there of the mudroom. You've got in-unit laundry. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs on the main level. This one that's got the gray sofa or gray sofa couch is technically could be utilized as a office. And the primary bedroom is very large. So you've got it has a private lavatory room, and then it's got the dual sinks, which you saw with the blue cabinets.
Great kitchen.
Great kitchen. It has a tandem garage, so you are able to fit into cars, nose to nose, basically. I think that's how that term is. It is a little bit oversized, so you still can have a refrigerator and fit the 2 cars in there.
This is a good example of Debbie's staging. Looks great.
Yes.
And they say you want your home to look like a model home. Well, this looks like a model to me. So this is awesome. And if you want to get a hold of Debbie, you can do so by calling her. I'm sure she'd love to show you this property. And based on how it looks, I imagine it's going to go pretty quickly. And appreciate you bringing it to us today. Thanks, Debbie. Well, this has been a great tour of the southeast metro part of town with Debbie Jacobs, and she's awesome. And if you want to get a hold of her, you can do so at the number on the screen. And of course, it's always great to have her on the show. I'm sure she'll be on lots more times. I hope she is. And in addition to that, she's been, as I mentioned earlier, she's been on the Pro Show a lot of times. If you want to see other segments that she's been on, feel free to go to theproshow.com, and you can also listen to it at your favorite place where you get your podcast. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.